All right, we are on our third workout here of our 16-week program. This is week one, which is part of this 6-phase progression to go from ground zero to an advanced muscle building routine. So this week has been all body weight. We're going to continue that today with lower body. But we start off all of our workouts with a warm-up. These are full-length, uncut workouts, hence the name Uncut for this series. So you get to see exactly what I do as I follow this over the next 16 weeks myself, trying to get in shape for a goal that I have at the end of the year, which is my 50th birthday. With that said, I've got too many injuries to list. And this guy right here is one of my best friends. This is not a product plug. Have no kind of affiliation with this company. It's a brand called The Orb. I found this one on Amazon. You can see it's kind of soft. It's almost like a foam roller, but a ball. And this just works a lot better for me. So this is how I start off every single lower body workout. I have to, even before I get into my warm-ups, just because for me in the morning, super stiff and low back, tighten the hamstrings and the glutes, which have a tendency to pull down on the back of the pelvis, cause a lot of discomfort in the low back. So before I start doing any kind of squats or movements like that, I'll just come down on the floor. Doesn't have to be, a long drawn out thing, but I'll get it under one side on my low back. The nice thing about the ball is instead of like a foam roller just rolling in one direction, obviously you can move in any direction. So I'll get it there on the low back, right on the hip. Then I'll scoot down, get it into the glute. Just try to kind of loosen everything up a little bit. Same thing, come over to the other side. It doesn't, like I said, have to be belabored. You don't have to sit here forever. I don't know about you, but I don't have the patience or the time to do some sort of 30-minute warm-up. All right. So with that being said, I'll then come into just some basic movements in the lower body just to get, the blood moving here, get things warmed up. So an easy one. Easier to grab onto something, hold on to it, and it's just leg swings. Not fast or jerky, just nice and controlled, forward and back. I like to do 12 to 15 of these. It's a really basic one. I don't know, any of you watch Drive to Survive, Formula One. You'll even see the pit crews doing full warm-ups, and this is one of them. Now, I just happen to have a lot of lower body injuries, low back injuries. I broke one of my hips in a car accident, crushed both my femurs. So many surgeries, I can't even list them. So, I've got to be smart about how I train lower body. But that's one of the things about this program is it's not just about building muscle, getting in shape, getting stronger. It's doing it in a smarter way so we don't cause injuries. So our goal here is kind of bulletproof everything. So we want to make sure we take the time, do some warm-ups here. There's also conditioning. You're working some of these smaller stabilizer muscles. So. All right. Now you'll see a lot of people doing warm-ups like butt kickers. I don't like that kind of impact first thing in the morning, bouncing around. So I'll actually just do them controlled. And now we're just kind of getting a nice warm up there in the hamstrings. Get those muscles working. So it's still a butt kicker, just without the bouncing. So we do about the same thing, about 12 each leg. Mobility is a big thing. Especially, as you get older, it becomes really important. So for me personally, that as time has gone on, become a bigger and bigger priority. I still want to be able to get out there and do whatever, play sports, have fun, because it's not just about looking good. All right, so now same thing, you know, people do high knees. Again, I don't want the impact, so we're just gonna do these nice and controlled. So get some of those hip flexors nice and warmed up. I'm not trying to coordinate this to the music either. All right, let's do one more. Then I'll come down to the ground. You want to get about 90 degrees here at the knee, same thing at the hip. And then we're just leaning forward a bit, keeping our torso upright. Get a nice stretch here in the front. All right, the other side. There we go. Pop up on your feet. Little light hamstring stretch. So one foot out in front of the other. Keep it on your heel. And you're just going to kind of sit into it. So you'll feel that through the hamstring and even into the calf. Other side. And then our last one. Get those quads. So you want to bring that heel to your butt. And then you don't want your knee up here. You want to try to bring it backwards in line with your other leg. And then keep your torso upright. All right, so that's a warm-up. We're done. That wasn't that long. Where's my sheet? Someone stole it, and I know who that person is. He's right behind the camera right now, and I don't know where he left it. So I'm going to take the camera right now, and I'm going to bullshit with you while he goes and gets it. So I think we're starting with body weight squats. I don't have the program memorized here by heart, so just take the opportunity, grab a drink of water here. Talk about all the time, hydration is super important, not just for health and wellness, but also for performance. And here we go.
You're right, body weight squats.
Good man, good man. Here we go. So body weight squats, exercise number 1. So we're going to be doing 3 sets, 10. I got 10 to 15 reps. If you need to, you can also go up to 20 reps, whatever it takes to feel like you're getting a good workout here. Really just going to come down to your fitness level. If you can only do 10, do 10. So this is a really good opportunity to practice good body alignment, because as we start to put weight, whether it's on our shoulders or doing dumbbell squats, posture is super important. That's one of the biggest mistakes I see people make with doing any kind of squat movement. That's why they end up hurting their low back. So, little wider than shoulder width apart. And I want you to get used to how it feels between weight on your toes versus weight on your heels. I want you to really get a kind of even distribution between the two. Firm footing, and I want you to get used to sitting backwards without feeling like you have to compensate by leaning forward. So a lot of times I'll just keep my hands out in front of me if it's body weight like this. So chest out, chin up, nice good alignment in our upper body. And then we're gonna drop it back, sit all the way down. And then we're gonna drive up through the heels, and we're gonna control our tempo here. Like all of our movements, 2 seconds on the way down, 2 seconds on the way up. And that's what's gonna make these a little bit harder, even though we're only doing body weight. Remember, time under tension, or our rep tempo, kicks up the intensity. So you don't need a lot of resistance here to get a good workout. We're going to bring that same philosophy into our weight training. Now, if you missed the first two workouts, I recommend going back to the beginning. Our first one was chest and triceps, and we did back and biceps. And now is legs. If you go to the description in this video, find a link to download the PDF for free. No strings attached. And that way you can follow along. Watch these videos, put your headphones in, just follow along. Nice and controlled. Like I said, do what you can do. But don't rush these. 1001, 1002, same on the way up. So we're firing everything here. Glutes, hamstrings, and quads. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna do one more. And like everything in this program, we stretch in between. So 90 seconds rest between sets. So shorter rest periods, take advantage. You don't have time to sit here and bullshit with your buddy or get on your phone. Stretch, grab a drink of water, and you get ready for your next set. And that's how you get in, get your workout done, and get the fuck out. Usually I'll do a combination, just light quad stretch, light hamstring stretch. Especially because I'm extremely tight. Never been a super flexible person, so I have to work extra hard at it. All right, I'm gonna do it again. Let me just grab a drink of water. All right, here we go. Same thing. Chest out, chin up. I like to find a spot on the wall, whether these are body weight or we're using weights, doesn't matter. I pick a spot on the wall and I keep my eyes fixed there the whole time. And that helps with body alignment. If you find yourself looking at the floor, that's a problem. There's two. Four. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. 13. 14. So there's 15. You can stop here, but I'm going to do 5 more. I'm going to take it to 20. 17. 3 more. There's 1. Starting to rush these. I need to slow them down. There we go. 2. Last 1. There it is. Now, you got a lot of injuries, it's easy to want to avoid legs. Trust me, I get it. I get it more than most. You know, even torn quad, you name it. When I say torn, I mean total ruptured tendon, vastus medialis rolled up into a ball, never got reattached. So I've got every reason in the world not to do legs. But you can either give yourself that excuse, that reason, or you can just figure out a way to do it. All right. Same thing, we'll drop into a light hamstring stretch. I'll tell you this real quick story. So I remember when I was in college, I already been training for quite a while. I started when I was 16. So already had a pretty good upper body. And I was sitting there on a couch with this girl. We were watching this TV show. And they had all these guys come on this TV show, some sort of talk show. And I remember her making fun of them because they all had skinny ass legs. And it made me super self-conscious because I never really trained legs. And that was like the spark for me. I'm like, ooh, damn, I don't want to be that dude. So that was the beginning of taking leg training more serious. All right. I'd be lying if I didn't say that one of my biggest motivations early on in my training wasn't girls, because that's what it was. It was like, you know, you go into the gym, you look good for the girls, you go into the gym to see the girls. So if it weren't for women, probably never would have gotten in shape. All right, here we go. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 10. You can stop there if you're really hurting, but if not, press on. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I'm going to do 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more. 5. Now there's a good chance you feel the muscles in your low back firing up. Now that's because they're having to fire isometrically to help you with your posture. So if they fire up with no weight on our shoulders, imagine how hard those muscles are having to work or almost strain if we start tilting forward and letting that gravity force our upper body down like that, all that pressure here on our low back. So if you do bar squats, got to be really conscientious about that with your alignment. All right, so that was 3 sets. So what do we got? We have lunges. Ugh. That's what you get putting your water bottle next to mine. That's all right. We've known each other long enough. All right, so we're gonna do an alternating lunge. So instead of walking lunges, This is just gonna be forward and back. I like to do them alternating. Some people will bust them out all on one side. So you just come in here and just do right leg, or you can do them alternating right, left, which is what I prefer. So same thing, 12 to 15, exact same body alignment, chest out, chin up, find that spot on the wall. Now, for a lot of people in the beginning, balance is an issue. So you don't have to have this perfect stride back to center. If you have to come forward and then, do like a little stutter step in the beginning, don't sweat it. No big deal. The balance will come. So we're going to do 12 to 15 each leg. We'll see how I feel here. So there's 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. There's 10. And keep this going. Go to 15. There's 11. 12. 13. 14, one more each leg. Good. Now, one of the things I like about this movement, it's not just good for strength, but obviously also good for balance. That's something we always have to work on. Now, when doing these, as far as knee position versus foot, you'll hear people say different things, trying to keep your knees aligned with your toes, but here's the basics of it. If I take a shorter stride, you can see I get more movement at the knee, less movement at the hip. So shorter strides become a little more quad dominant, using the quads more to push back. If I come wider here, I get a little less movement at the knee, more movement at the hip, and we start to engage the glutes and the hamstrings more. So for these personally, I like somewhere in the middle. We're working all of them, but if you want to focus on maybe quad versus hamstring glute, that's how you do it. The same thing with squats. Power lifters put the bar down low on their back, and you'll see them, they'll really sit way into it, and they're using a lot of hamstring and glutes. There's a lot of power there. Versus, say, a lot of bodybuilders, you'll see them doing things where maybe they're elevating their heels under a block, and they're getting more movement at the knee and making it a little more quad dominant. Me personally, I think my philosophy these days is I stick to what's natural, a natural range of motion. I'm not trying to find these little nuances to maybe just get a bit stronger contraction in one area versus another. I'd rather have the body move in a natural way, and that way I'm not putting a bunch of unnecessary wear and tear on the body. And besides, I think the difference in muscle development between those strategies, personally, after all these years, 33 years of training, I think the difference is marginal at best. In other words, it's like you got to ask yourself, is the juice worth the squeeze? All right, here we go. Same thing. Now, if we want to make these harder, which actually we should be, to be honest with you, I'm kind of leading you astray here. I'm doing these too fast. Let's focus on rep tempo. So here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2. Much harder. 1, 2, 1, 2. All of a sudden that gets a lot harder. Now you can appreciate how time under tension increases intensity. And we're using less momentum, forcing the muscle to work harder, which is our goal. Yes, sir. It's much better. Nice. I lost track, to be honest with you. So after this, I'm going to do 2 more each leg. There's 1 more each leg. If you followed any of my content, some of my philosophies have changed through the years, but one thing that's never changed is that this isn't a counting game. I'm less concerned about hitting an exact number of reps. I'm more concerned about how the set feels. How hard was it? Because there's no magic number like, oh, just because you hit 10 reps doesn't mean you're magically building muscle. No, they have to be a hard 10 reps. So rep count's kind of just a gauge, a guide, you know? If you get in and you hit 10 and it was easy, man, bust out a couple more until you feel like you really pushed yourself in that set. Nice, nice. All right, so we got 1 more set of these. Now, as we progress into the 16 weeks, you're going to hear me use certain terminology, and we're creating a foundation here, some building blocks that we're going to continue to use all the way through this program. So sometimes you'll hear me refer to the negative. So if we're doing lunges, that's going to be on the way down. So this is our negative, but it's also called our eccentric. The push is our concentric, right? So we want roughly a 2-second eccentric or negative and a controlled 2-second concentric push. Same thing, bench press, concentric, eccentric. So if you hear me use those words, now you know. If you're an advanced trainer, you already know it. But I want to make sure that we're kind of laying a foundation here, even for the guys that are just starting for the first time. That's 2. 3. 4. 5. And you slow them down, starting to rush. Happens when you get tired. 6. 7. There's 8. You should start to feel these. I'm gonna go for 4 more each leg. That's 9. 10. 2 more each leg. There's 12. Now, if you're a beginner or you're someone who maybe was advanced at one point but took a long break, you're probably going to feel these tomorrow or the next day, especially the glutes and the hamstrings. And this is just doing body weight, which is why we're starting out with body weight. Can you imagine how you would feel if we jumped in to alternating lunges with resistance with weights? You'd be miserable. I have a buddy of mine who've been friends since we were kids. His name's George. He started weight training even earlier than me for football. So he started at like 14. I started at 16. So he was always ahead of me, always stronger, always bigger. He was kind of like, you know, in our gym crew early on, you know, he was definitely the leader. He's a football coach now, high school football coach. He told me, he's like, dude, he's like, I try to get back into it. He's like, I'll go in there, try to knock out a workout. He's like, I'm so miserable, so sore. He said, I end up quitting. And so it's just like kind of start and stop. So a lot of that conversation led to this, which is, what is a natural progression? You know, how do we establish a foundation and then build on that? Whew. Okay. So we're going to move something that's a little more glute and hamstring focused. You'll see a lot of women do these in the gym. But the interesting thing is, it's a really good exercise. Athletes do these. But all the women who want to build a booty, they're always doing hip hinging movements. So like what we're going to do here is a glute bridge. Technically, it's referred to as a hip hinge, right? So that's right here. This is going to be extension, glutes, hamstrings. And here's the thing, even as a dude, the glutes are the biggest muscle in the body. So you don't want to be the guy with big ass arms or a big chest and a flat booty. Not a good look, man. Not a good look. No one likes a flat ass. And there's no excuse for it. Let me turn my head around here. Oh, let me kill that. Oh, I thought I had that on Do Not Disturb. And that's what you do in a workout. Unless it's an emergency, don't fall into that trap. Because it starts as like, oh, I'll talk to him for a minute. Next thing you know, like 15 minutes of your workout's gone. All right, so here we go. Feet planted firmly on the ground, extended out just a little bit. You can rest your hands on the ground, but I don't want you pressing with your hands. A lot of people will actually rest their hands on their hips to make sure they don't. And all we're gonna do here is lift those hips. We just wanna go straight. You don't have to exaggerate this. That only compresses your back, your spine. So we don't want that. So just almost like a natural posture, as if you were standing. So butt back down. Push up, and as you do it, I want you to think about squeezing your glutes, squeezing those hamstrings. And that's what's gonna make this exercise more challenging, is that mind-muscle connection of actively contracting those muscles, not just relying on the movement to do it for you.
So if you feel lame putting your hands on your hips, you can put them on your stomach here. For us guys, that probably looks a little less lame, maybe. 7. 8. If you really want to make it harder, don't rest your butt on the ground. Stop short. Stop there. Back up. And then control those rep speeds. You should feel those hamstrings starting to fire up a little. Or a lot. That was 12. 13. 14. 15. Nice. While we're down on the ground, we're just going to stay here and move right into a light hamstring stretch, one leg at a time. So, combination of slower time under tension, controlling those rep speeds, actively contracting the muscle, right? That mind-muscle connection. You know, think about almost like if you were posing, right? If someone said, hey, just contract your hamstring. That in combination with stopping short, not giving yourself the break, keeping constant tension all the way through that. The 3 of those added up, and you get a good workout even without any resistance. You can also just come in here, you know, a standard hamstring stretch if you want. And since we're working glutes, if you want to, do one leg crossed over, reach through your leg, and then you're going to gently pull back and you'll feel that stretch on that side, and then you'll do the opposite. But we're going to move into set 2 here. Here we go. Stop short, constant tension, back up. It's 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. There's 10. 11. There we go, there's 12. Nice. Here's another trick. Anytime you're doing hamstring work or trying to focus more on the hamstrings, maybe it's even, say, a leg press. You'll hear people talk about pushing through the heels. So when you're doing these, think about pressing with that heel as opposed to putting the weight in your toe, and it'll help you get a little stronger contraction. Nice, we're almost done with this workout. Now, if you're thinking, you know, I don't need a bodyweight only program. You know, I'm more advanced than that. Just keep this in perspective. I've been training for 33 years, actually going on 34 years now. Started when I was 16, I'm about to turn 50. Never stopped. Always trained hard my entire life. Kept my shit together the whole time. So I don't know how much more advanced I could be. I've tried every kind of workout program known to man, I swear. And even when I take a break or when my training starts to get shitty or I've got an injury that slowed me down, sometimes we all just need a bit of a reset. So this is only a week-long phase of body weight only. So I think it's, not a bad idea even for guys who haven't stopped. Just take a little break, give the body, a little bit of break from putting weight, and the body compressing it all the time, and focus on maybe a little bit of mobility, good body control. Never a bad idea. So don't let your ego get in the way here. This is not just like a beginner routine. Here we go. So to exaggerate, I'll even lift my toes. There's 5. 6. 7. There's 8. And 4 more. That's 1. 2. 3. One more for 12. Nice. So all through the first couple phases, we're going to be doing this 2-0-2 rep speed. So 2-second concentric, kind of 0 on the isometric and 2-second on the eccentric. But on this one, I do like a little bit of pause on that isometric. So that's going to be at the top here, right? So 2 seconds on the concentric, just a little isometric squeeze before going back down. So it'd be like a 2-1-2. All right, so that's 3 sets of our hip bridges. So this isn't just leg stay, this is legs and abs. Perfect, we already got the mat on the ground. So we're just gonna do a really simple crunch. Same thing, 3 sets. Really just gonna come down to good form. A lot of people think they have to do a million crunches, and that's not true. Your abdominals are just another muscle group. I'm gonna scoot this over here. Abs are just another muscle group. It's not about, magic number of reps. Like, oh, I did 1,000 crunches. Who gives a shit? I'd rather you do, 30, 40 within all your sets that are high quality, really focusing on a good contraction, using good control, and making those muscles work, as opposed to just flinging a bunch of reps, using a bunch of momentum. Again, it's not a counting game. So 2 ways you can do this. One slightly more advanced. So the most basic way is going to be feet on the ground. But here's what I want you to do. I see a lot of people doing crunches that I don't think are super effective. Like, in order to really get a strong contraction in the abdominals, what they help do is flex our spine to round our spine. So we want to make sure we get good range of motion. Like this shit right here, it's okay, but it's not optimal. So plant the feet firmly on the ground. I don't want you yanking on the back of your head. Just lightly support the weight of your head, especially if you have a big noggin like I do. I want to straighten my neck. And we're going to come all the way up here, get a strong contraction, and then control that eccentric down. And we're going to stop short. Don't rest here. Stop short here, constant tension. Back up. So that's 2. That's 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 2 more. It's 11. Last one. So I do get a lot of friends will ask me about ab routines. Look, there's no magic ab routine. Like I said, it's just a muscle. You got to get in there. You got to condition it. That's going to strengthen the muscle. But at the end of the day, if you want a leaner, meaner midsection, that's going to come down to nutrition, right? You got to go into the gym. You got to develop the muscle, but then you got to lose the body fat. So both are important because I would say, if you just focus on diet, never did any kind of resistance training, well, just because your arms are lean doesn't mean they look muscular. So you still have to develop the muscle, but you're gonna have to focus on the nutrition as well. So I keep it basic. I've always kept it basic. There's no need to overcomplicate ab routines. And the one thing that I always focus on is, again, getting that good flexion in the spine or rounding the spine. And that's why I'm not a huge fan of like a plank for an ab exercise. It's not really an ab exercise. Yes, you use your abdominals isometrically to stabilize your core, but a plank is a core exercise. That's something to help develop overall core strength, including your low back. Glutes are firing, hamstrings are firing. So it's a good exercise for core stability, but it's not a great ab exercise. So I showed you the most basic version. There's 2 more slightly advanced versions. I'll show you each. The second set, show you one version, and our last set, I'll show you the other. So let's go ahead and maybe grab a drink of water. Okay. So last one, we had our feet planted on the ground. This one, we're simply going to lift our feet off the ground, but more than just lifting our feet, I want you to lift your butt a little off the ground, right? So here's the difference. I can slide my hands under here versus this. So this helps you get a little more of that curve in the spine. And now we can get a really nice contraction here, and you'll feel it a little different. Oh, yeah. Ooh, much stronger contraction. And then if you kind of burn out, no problem. Drop the feet down and keep going. And if you shake it off, go back to it. There's 10. One more. Now, with crunches, obviously we're shortening or contracting the abdomen. So all of our stretching movements that we've been doing throughout these workouts are doing the opposite of whatever the contraction is, right? If we're doing biceps and we're shortening the muscle, well, then we're coming in after and we're lengthening the muscle. So for abdominals, to lengthen the muscle, is a really easy one. Just lay down. You want to be careful, especially depending on your back. You don't want to overdo this. But all you're going to do is just a nice light lift. We don't want to over compress the spine. And then I actually like to think about kind of pushing my abdomen down. And you can even think about almost like pulling yourself forward, stretching that abdomen out. So it's not just backwards, it's almost forward, like with your hands kind of pulling yourself forward and leaving your hips anchored. Okay. Or a simple one is simply just coming over here, arms overhead. And then you can even go side to side if you want to. But we just want to lengthen those muscles. So I promise you a third version. Now this one looks a little bit more like a traditional sit-up. Now, I've got my own philosophy of why the sit-up fell out of fashion, and it's because people did them wrong. Like, I don't know how old you are, but when I was younger, we used to have the Presidential Fitness Awards, and part of it was like how many push-ups you could do, you know, timed, how many pull-ups you could do, how many sit-ups you could do timed. And so we all were taught how to do these really sloppy, shitty sit-ups, using a lot of momentum, you know, kind of flinging our body upward. I'll show you what it looks like. I don't know if you remember, you used to have someone sit on your feet. You have to have someone anchor your feet or something to anchor them down. And so these traditional sit-ups look like this, right? Well, there's nothing good about that. Not only is that a lot of momentum, but it's really sloppy. And, you know, so a lot of people were, you know, having neck injuries from pulling on the back of their head. So that's where I think sit-ups got a bad rap. But the range of motion potentially that you can get in a modified sit-up makes for a very, very strong contraction in the abs. So this is the more advanced version. It's a hybrid halfway between a crunch and a sit-up. So anchoring the feet, and then what we're gonna do, same thing, keeping our shoulders off the ground. We're just gonna come up here and get a nice, strong, full range of motion. I'm not coming all the way up here, because frankly, there's nothing here. I'm just using hip flexors at that point. I'm only concerned about getting maximum flexion here in the spine, and then I come back down. Oh yeah, I haven't done these in a while, and I am feeling those. Yeah. Oh, it's the same thing. You can do as many as you can do, and then no shame in the game, going back to the basic. It's almost like doing a drop set, right? Do as many reps as you can with a heavier set or heavier resistance level, and then you drop it down and you keep going. Let's do 2 more. Nice. Good stuff. That's it as far as the workout. Now, me personally, now that I'm nice and warm, I'll a lot of times go through some of the same movements that I did in my warm-up, just to go ahead and stretch everything out. Don't have to, you know, sit there and do it for 15, 20 minutes, but, you know, just rotate through them. Make sure that we stretch everything out nice. Stand up. Get those quads. And those hamstrings. Oh, I can tell you, they're gonna be sore. Total transparency, I have not done much legs in a long time. My low back has been pretty whacked lately. Embarrassed to say it, but I was having my wife and Nick help me put my socks and shoes on in the morning because I literally just couldn't even reach my own feet. That's how bad everything was locked up. So now, you know, gradually starting to work into a little bit better mobility, but taking a break from leg training, just this basic body weight workout, I know I'm gonna feel it. So that's our leg day. This was workout number 3. Like I said, this first week is all body weight exercise. Next week, we're gonna progress into doing a lot of the same type of movements, same exact split. We're keeping the same split all the way through the 16 weeks. So the schedule stays the same as far as body parts. We just start progressing by adding in different types of resistance and intensity techniques. So next week is going to be resistance bands. May sound easy, believe me, they're not. So if you don't have a set of resistance bands, go pick up a set. If you have a pair, cool. I do make them. My company's called Undersun Fitness. Feel free to pick up those. If you have another brand you prefer, buy those. Just make sure that you have something if you want to follow next week's workouts, which I really recommend. Even if you're not into bands, Bands are an awesome training tool to be able to add into your regular routine, but also think about the times when you're on the road, you're traveling. Like I've got to travel later this month. I'm going to be bringing my bands because I'm probably not going to have time to make it to any kind of gym while I'm on the road. So it's good to nail down some very basic exercises so you can always stay consistent with your workouts. That's rule number one. Don't miss a workout. Even the worst workout, and I'm not saying band workouts are bad because they're awesome, but even the worst workout is better than no workout. So make sure if you want the PDF, like I said, the link is in the description below. Go click on that. We'll email you a copy of the PDF absolutely free. That way you can follow along. Follow me over the next 16 weeks as I do this myself, and I promise by the end you won't regret it. I'll see you next workout.